So you've just been diagnosed with Bell's palsy. I know that can be a really confusing and, honestly, a pretty scary experience. You probably have a million questions running through your head. Well, we're here to help clear things up.
And I'm willing to bet the number one question on your mind is this one. How long is this going to last? When will my face get back to normal? You know, it's the uncertainty that's often the hardest part, so let's just tackle that head on, right now.
Okay, so the science-backed answer, based on how your body actually heals, is about 3 months. And look, that isn't just a random number we pulled out of thin air. It's a timeline based on a very specific two-phase process. And we're going to break down exactly what's happening inside your body during that time.
But first, to really get a handle on the recovery, we have to pinpoint the problem. What is actually causing this paralysis in the first place? The answer? Well, it might surprise you.
First things first, and this is a big one, let's clear up a major fear right away. The problem is not in your brain. For so many people, that is a huge, huge relief. Bell's palsy is what's called a peripheral nerve issue, which just means the problem is happening outside of your main command center, your brain and spinal cord.
And you know what else? It isn't your facial muscles either. They're totally fine. They haven't been damaged at all. They're just not getting the memo, not receiving the signals they need to move, which is a very, very different problem. So if it's not the brain and it's not the muscles, where in the world is the problem? Well, it's actually right here, in a tiny little canal where your facial nerve passes through your ear. That's it. That's the spot where this whole thing starts. So what's going on inside that tiny canal? Well, some kind of viral infection or inflammation causes the nerve to swell up. I want you to think of that nerve as a busy communication highway. The swelling creates a massive roadblock, what doctors call a conduction block. Your brain is still sending the signals to smile, to blink, all of that, but they're just hitting a wall. They can't get through. So, the body's first job, its absolute top priority, is to clear that roadblock and repair the highway itself. This brings us to the first phase of healing, the foundational nerve repair. And there is a lot happening here, even if you can't see a thing on the outside yet.
Okay, let's look at how this repair sequence actually works. First, the damage affects the nerve's protective coating, its myelin sheath. Think of it like the plastic insulation on an electrical wire. When that gets damaged, it's called demyelination. But right away, your body's amazing repair crew gets to work rebuilding it. That's a process called remyelination. And finally, the nerve cells themselves start building brand new connections through what's called axonal sprouting. It's this incredible, step-by-step biological construction project.
And this kind of deep biological work, well, it takes time. This foundational nerve repair phase can last up to 8 weeks. That's right. For the first 2 months, your body is completely focused on this crucial behind-the-scenes healing.
So while your body's doing all that heavy lifting, what's your job? It's pretty simple, actually. Protect your nerve and your eyes. Work on reducing inflammation in your whole body. Gently prevent your facial muscles from getting too stiff. And most importantly, you have to protect your eyes from drying out, because that blink reflex isn't working right now. Now, once that nerve highway is partially repaired and signals start to trickle through, it's time for the control tower, your brain, to get back in the game. And this is what kicks off phase 2, the brain rewiring. You see, as the nerve starts to fire again, the brain has to totally relearn how to send and interpret the signals. It's been trying to shout past that roadblock for weeks, and now it has to adjust its volume way down. This whole adjustment period is what can lead to some of those feelings of stiffness or tightness in your face. It's like your brain senses the muscles are weak, so it tries to help by sending a huge surge of extra force. But the nerve just isn't ready for all that power yet, and the result is this weak or kind of uncoordinated movement. The brain has to slowly but surely relearn and correct this mismatch. And this whole brain rewiring thing is possible thanks to something truly incredible called cortical plasticity. It's your brain's superpower. Its amazing ability to literally remap and reorganize itself. It's actively resyncing the motor signals it sends out with the sensory feedback it's getting back from your face. It's essentially rebuilding the instruction manual for all your facial movements. Now here's where it gets really fascinating. Your brain actually has 2 different centers for facial expressions. One for logic, like forcing a smile for a photo, and one for pure emotion, like a genuine spontaneous laugh. During recovery, these 2 centers can get totally out of sync. And this is exactly why things like practicing expressions and having real social engagement are so key.
They help your brain relink your true emotions to your actual facial movements again. And this brain-level work, you guessed it, it has its own timeline. This rewiring and stabilizing of all the new connections typically happens between weeks 6 and 12. See how it overlaps with and builds on that initial nerve repair? It all comes together to bring us right to that 3-month mark.
So, let's bring all of this together and talk about your path forward. You know, the most important thing you can possibly do is to understand and just trust this natural 3-month process. I want you to remember this because it's probably the most important takeaway from all of this. The face that isn't moving is just the symptom. It is not the problem. The real feeling, the real work, is happening somewhere else entirely.
So the crucial point is this: that lack of movement you see in the mirror is not a sign that you're failing. It's not a sign that it isn't working. It is a sign that your body is busy with the incredibly complex and vital repairs happening behind the scenes, in your ear and in your brain.
So here it is, your recovery roadmap. First, be patient. Trust that 3-month timeline. Second, focus on gentle activation of your muscles. Don't ever try to force them to move. Third, encourage sensory feedback. Gently touching your face to help your brain with its remapping project. And above all, just let your body's incredible natural healing process lead the way. Understanding this whole process really changes everything, doesn't it? It moves you from a place of fear and frustration to one of empowerment. So the final question isn't, when will I be fixed, but a much better question. How can I best support my body's incredible natural healing process as it does its work? Trust the timeline, support the system, and please be patient with yourself.